Hi, this is Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I've got something interesting to share with you, as usual. I've got a deck of cards here, and this would need to be shuffled by the spectator, so the spectator could shuffle the cards and demonstrate that they don't know the order of the cards, and I couldn't possibly know the order of the cards. So once they are shuffled, they can be set down right here on the table. And we'll set it right here. And I want to try something really unusual. I've got a marker and a pad of paper here. I want to write something down, a bit of a premonition, an idea, some kind of foresight that will pay off here in a moment. Just give me a second. I'll write this down. And yeah, I think that's it. Make this nice and bold so we can be clear. And I'm going to set this aside. I don't want anybody to see it. So I'm going to fold it up. And this is going to set right out in the open, an open prediction of sorts. We'll set right here until we need it. You shuffled the cards. What I need you to do very quickly is from the deck, I need you to just cut approximately half of the deck and set it right there. And you can do that. Very good. And what we're going to do is we're going to consider the test conditions right now, right? This is a bit of an experiment. And the conditions are such that you shuffled the cards. Nobody knows the order. They've been sitting right here. I have not handled the cards. You freely cut. The deck. And we have this situation. Now, before you cut the deck, I also had this little prediction that I wrote down, this idea, this foresight that I have. I set it right here. It's been sitting in the open. I have not handled it. It's not been switched. No funny business going on. And what I want to see is where these two events meet, where they mesh together. If you will, go ahead and take that card, the top card from that packet right there where you cut. Go ahead and turn it over and take a look at it. You can see that it is the Three of Hearts. And now what I want you to do is go ahead and take that piece of paper and go ahead and open it up and take a look at it. If you open the piece of paper, you can see that we have Three of Hearts. So this is in a sort of open prediction. We've been talking about in the previous video on this little series here that I'm intertwining with the tricks that I do, jazzing with a shuffle deck, right? Often we think about jazzing, or improvisation is the better word, I think. Improvisation with a memorized deck, because the memorized deck gives us the ability to have a full understanding of the complete order of the cards, and with it under our control, we can false shuffle, we can handle it in such a way that the cards appear to be mixed, but we have instant access to really any thought of card. This is a little bit different in that if we're dealing with the thought of card, as I described in the last video, one method we can use is the opportunity of chance opportunity, that a card could be revealed that was thought of. And if we have enough of these chance opportunities built in, we do increase the opportunities that we could have a chance occurrence of an effect with some occasion and frequency, not all the time. However, when you're using a method like that, as we discussed before, you want to always have an end game, a plan, a final plan, an effect of sorts that you can do with a freely called card from a shuffled deck that you can always depend on or roll down to. We also talked about how that really needs to be the goal every time you try this. We should never look at chance opportunities, chance revelations, as being an opportunity that is missed, or a pinnacle height of effect that is greater than the final goal. We want to always think about them as opportunities that either hit or opportunities that miss, but in the end, we always have another way out, a surefire way to end our trick using a freely named card from a shuffle deck. This is going to be a bit of a diversion from that. We're not using any chance opportunity. However, this presentation actually looks a lot more like that Vernon card trick that can't be explained. This is really a very direct handling that's quite simple, quite easy to do, and it doesn't require any chance whatsoever. This is a surefire end, a surefire conclusion. And there really is the essential claim present that we are not handling the deck, that we're making our prediction openly. We're doing it before the selection. The prediction sits in the open. We don't switch it. It sits right there. The spectator makes the selection. We don't touch the cards, and they end up matching. So you probably know how this is going to work because you know the things that I prefer, and this is not a new concept. This is a very old, well-tested kind of strategy, but it fits very well with that open prediction card trick that can't be explained kind of concept. So what we're doing here is we have the spectator shuffle the cards completely freely, and when we take it back, we have to handle the cards in two very subtle, minor ways that are forgotten and really irrelevant. There is often a discussion about whether or not when a magician touches a cards, whether that's called handling the cards or touching the cards. We think about any card at any number, the Burglas effect, these kinds of effects, and we make up these rules that say the magician can never even touch the cards. They need to be 20 feet away from it. That's not true. Really what you're looking for is the essence of freedom, right? That the deck is not tainted by any sort of handling. That doesn't mean that the performer can't, touch them and set them down, right? Or replace a cut, or move them from this spot over to this spot in a very subtle, open way. That kind of freedom is certainly doable. Maybe not in the magician-y sort of argument, but certainly in the perspective of the spectator. The spectator, if everything looks fair, if I take cards and I spread them like this, and not like that. If I take the cards and I spread them like this, and I close the spread and nothing has happened, there's been no shuffling or cutting, this is completely fair to a spectator. It is sufficient as not handling, okay? That's why the last effect can work, by the way. There were questions about whether or not justifying that you don't know where their card is at, and then when you spread and you see their card in the deck, if that's really a contradiction in terms. Well, it's the fact that the effect that we relied on in the last video is it's a non-invasive sort of procedure. We spread open, we close it, and we don't do anything, right? The spectator cuts the cards, and then we have our end reveal. It's the same way here. The spectators have shuffled, again, and when we take the cards back, we go to set them down, we perform what's called a bubble peek. So you push forward and buckle the top card, and you get a glimpse of the index right there. And I can see that this is the 5 of spades as I set it down. So I get a quick glimpse, I set it down, I now know the identity of the top card. What I do is I write down on here the 5 of spades, I make my open prediction, I make a 5, and I can draw my spade. And then I set this aside, and I want to do this in such a way that nobody can see what it is. So you want to make sure you fold it up. This needs to be kept secret so that it's not spoiled. And it needs to be sitting in the open. This is an open prediction. It sits out far away from you. So we have to treat the prediction much like we treat the deck. We don't want to touch it. We make the prediction. It sits there wide in the open. We don't really handle anything as far as they know. We then ask the spectator to cut approximately half, is a direction I like to give when doing the crisscross force. They cut approximately half, set it right there. And then immediately, without indicating anything, we're going to take the bottom part and we're going to set it askew on top of the original top. So we're replacing the cut, or we are completing the cut, but we're leaving it holding a break between the original top and bottom. This looks and appears quite fair to the spectator because the geography of what's going on is kind of convoluted. Obviously, there's a real cut, and the cut is made complete, and that part really looks fair. But as with the crisscross force, when we use it, this is remembered a little bit differently after a little bit of time delay. When we come back to it, we're actually going to force this card, which was the original top, the one that we peaked. So we do our quick recap. We explain the cards have been shuffled, test conditions, right? This kind of banter. Then we come back to this. We say, I wrote down an open prediction. It's been sitting here. I have not handled it. It hasn't been switched. It's right there. You cut the cards, and what I want you to do, and I'm going to reach in. I already did replace the cut. I did touch it, but this is fair. You see, you can get away with this. You don't have to be completely hands-off. I'm going to pick up the top, and I'm going to push off the top card and say, go ahead and take a look at that card where you cut. So I'm going to add that little bit of a reminder that this is where they cut at, even though it is not. They take a look. 5 of spades. They're free to pick up the prediction. They take a look at it. 5 of spades. And we're off and running. It is the card trick that can't be explained. Obviously, with this full magician, no, it would not, right? It would not. But as I've alluded to many times before, I don't care. I'm not performing for magicians. Magicians are not the audience. Quite to the opposite. If I did this in front of magicians, what I would want is I would want them walking away with a good smile on their face, saying that's a pretty good use of that very simple, direct, open, non-handled strategy. I want them to appreciate the method that they know is in play. I don't need to fool them. I just don't need to fool them. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about everybody else. I'm worried about real people. I'm worried about, the real spectators that I encounter all the time. And the crisscross force is absolutely deadly. It's just such a good, extremely accessible strategy and method. When you look at the work of John Bannon, Leomonte, people that do a lot of tricks that and products that are made up of tricks that are really hands-off, right? Self-working kinds of things. This is bread and butter. This is meat and potatoes. This is the very basic level kind of strategy and sleight, the crisscross force, the cross-cut force. It shows up in probably 60% of the material that you find in those products for good reason, for very good reason. So using nothing more than a quick peek and a crisscross force, you really can do essentially that Vernon presentation of the card trick that can't be explained. It's hands off as far as the spectator is concerned. You certainly can make that claim. It is very fair. And that is strategy number 2 in this series of improvisation with a shuffled deck in use. So using a basic peek and an open prediction based on some open control that the spectator can do themselves. So another strategy that you can string along together with a fully shuffled deck that's in use, regular cards, and improvisation. So this can be accompanied or by any other trick, or it can be inserted in between another trick, or it can be used in cooperation with other tricks as well. So there you have it. Good luck with that, and happy magicking.